My name is Paul. Welcome to this free training video on which strategy is best for you. Now, the reason I'm doing this video, this training, is purely because a lot of people make the same mistake. They hear about one strategy, for instance, deal sourcing, rent to rent, and they think, oh, that sounds fantastic. And then they hear about another strategy, say lease options or serviced accommodation. They think, oh my God, that sounds amazing. That's a game changer. I'm going for that one. Then you hear about something else and they get their head turned again and they become confused and they're kind of overwhelmed by the amount of creative property strategies that there are. And they don't really know where to start or where to put the focus. So I thought I'd do this video to give you an overview of the various different property strategies out there, what you can expect to earn from each strategy. I'm not talking about BS figures, I'm talking about averages. Kind of across the UK. And the idea is at the end of this video, will have a better idea, a clearer understanding of which strategy is best suited to you, because not every strategy suits everybody. At the end of the day, you have to be, you have to play to your strengths, really. So let's dive into the first one. So deal sourcing. Now, this strategy is the art of finding a property for a property investor. So typically there are many investors who are cash rich but time poor, and so they utilise local property sources to help them find their next property investment. Now, the typical fees when we're talking about earning potential, the typical fees are usually around 2%. That's 2% of the purchase price. So, for example, if you found your investor client a property and it was worth £180,000, your fee would be £3,600. However, if you are sourcing different types of deals, such as a lease option or a rent to rent, you can charge much more money for them, and it's approximately around about £5,000 per deal. Now, the potential with deal sourcing is to build a pipeline of investors, all actively buying and using your services as a property sourcer. Now, the more deals and properties you help find, the more money you are going to earn. In just a few deals, you could supplement your current income, and this can enable you to then invest yourself using other strategies with small amounts of money, such as lease options or rent to rent, and building that cash flow in your business. So a lot of people do start out deal sourcing. I've got some posts here from Facebook. These are property Basecamp students. So the top one there is, don't know about you guys, but I want to say a massive thank you to Paul Rose. This course has given me a next level game plan and all the help and information required. Due to this, I've successfully got my first deal this evening, £3,000 sourcing fee and a £500 deposit, and a massive smile on my face. On to the next one. And then the same student, deal number 2, literally a few days later, a week later, I think it was. And it's deal sourcing is all about your pipeline of investors. Like I say, the more investors you have and the more clients that you're working for, then the better. The more money you're going to earn at the end of the day. So deal sourcing is where a lot of people start, just purely because the startup costs are so low, but the income can be quite substantial, to be quite honest. So next up, rent to rent. Now, this strategy is a cash flow strategy, whereas deal sourcing is more like sporadic income. So you're earning between £2,000 and £5,000 per deal with deal sourcing. It depends when those deals drop, and depends how many. That's why I say the potential is to have a pipeline of investors. So it depends, what you want. Are you looking for sporadic money that you can build up and build your clients, your investors, and have £5,000, £10,000, £20,000 dropping in every month? Or do you want cash flow strategy where it's smaller amounts of money but it's coming in every month? So rent to rent, this strategy is a cash flow strategy. Did you know that you can earn monthly income from property without actually owning it or needing large sums of money? And this is what rent to rent gives you. Rent to rent essentially means you approach tired landlords and offer them guaranteed rent and a no hands approach for an easy life. So let me explain. So we'll look at the image here on the right. So we've got tired landlords struggling to let a tired property to a family on a single let. So the landlord expects to rent it for £400 a month, and you agree to pay the landlord £400 a month. But you also agree that you can then let the property by the room to individual tenants. You make some minor changes to the property to meet HMO guidelines. A HMO is a house of multiple occupancy, and to make it more appealing to the tenants. You then let the property by the room, and this gives you £1,280, because you can see there we've got 4 bedrooms. We're letting each bedroom for £320 a month. So this gives you £1,280, and you pay the landlord £400. And when you're running a HMO, you cover the running costs, so you cover the utility bills and the council tax. So this will give you a profit each month of £572, just as an example. So you can see you don't own this property, but you've approached the landlord, tired landlord, a bit fed up with dealing with tenants, just kind of wants to wash their hands of it. You've agreed, look, I'll pay you £400 a month. I'll guarantee your rent every single month, so you'll get your £400 a month no matter what. You don't have to worry about tenants. I'll take care of everything. You just wait for the money to hit your account. To a tired landlord who's fed up, that's a fantastic, opportunity for them. For yourself, it's an even better opportunity, because you're paying the landlord £400, yet you're netting £572 clear profit from a property you don't even own. So how much can you earn? So as you can see from the example, you can generate a lot of profit from just one property with minimal outlay. The only outlay you've got is, giving the property a lick of paint maybe, and maybe sorting out some furniture and things like that if need be. A small portfolio of rent-to-rent properties like this can give you a really nice cash flow each month that will rival most day jobs, in all honesty. And if each property gave you, on average, say £600 to £700 per month, how many of those properties would you need to replace your income? Right now, just work that out. How many properties? I'm guessing probably between 2 and 5 properties would mean you could effectively quit your day job if you wanted to. So rent to rent is a powerful strategy, and it's monthly cash flow. So let's look at some other strategies. So there are many other strategies, but the most common starting points for people are deal sourcing and rent to rent. And there's a good reason for this. Both strategies allow you to start earning money with very little outlay. And they allow you to build up either a great income, or you can reinvest into other strategies and start investing yourself, like I said earlier. So I'll give you a quick synopsis on some other strategies. So we've got buy, refurb, refinance, buy, refurb, refinance, which is commonly known as BRR. Now, with BRR, if we look over to the right, you find tired properties in need of a refurbishment. So you crunch the numbers and assess the cost to refurb the property, and also what the potential value is going to be once you've improved the property. So what value are you going to add? With this strategy, instead of purchasing the property with a mortgage, you leverage creative finance options such as bridging finance or refurbishment finance. And this allows you to buy quickly, refurb the property relatively quickly, and then refinance that property onto a mortgage, which is when you would pay down the initial finance, so the bridging finance or the refurbishment finance. And anything above this is profit. So why would you do this? Well, you can sometimes pull out all your capital that you've put into the property and have a property with no money actually in the deal. The worst case scenario is you pull out almost all your money and leave some in, and eventually you're going to have that money back out in terms of rental income. And this is a popular way of growing a portfolio with minimal capital and growing a portfolio quite quickly as well. So that's BRR, or buy refurb refinance. Next up, lease options. Now you may have heard of this, and I think lease options are going to come to the forefront again, post-COVID, if we ever get to post-COVID, just because of the conditions in the property market in the UK. So lease options, almost the same as rent to rent. The only difference being you use different legal contracts. And instead of just renting the property for a period of years and generating that monthly cash flow as you would in rent to rent, you also have the option to buy the property at the end of the agreed term or sooner. Now, this strategy works for properties that are in negative equity and the owner cannot sell, but either wants to sell or needs to sell due to personal circumstances. Now, the owner, they're limited in what they can do as the property is in negative equity, so an open market sale just is not possible. And this strategy, like I said, it will be popular again in the coming months and years, as many people will find themselves in this situation after COVID-19 and with a shrinking market. Because a lot of people will be pushed into that negative equity, and if they need to sell for whatever reason, then the lease option is probably only one of the only things that they're going to be able to do. Now, the bottom line is this strategy has to work for all parties involved. And because capital growth cannot be guaranteed, this is more about monthly cash flow with the bonus of potentially getting a great deal on purchasing it at the end. Now, I should say that you set the purchase price today. And if there is a period of capital growth over the term, 5 to 10 years, if there's a period of capital growth over that time, you could end up with not only cash flow for the 5 to 10 years, but a property with substantial equity in the future. And again, all this is from a property you don't own. So that's lease options. Now we move on to assisted sales. It's one of my favourites. So think of an assisted sale as a traditional flip. So a traditional flip is, in case you don't know, is where somebody buys a property, it's in need of work, it needs work doing to it, it's a tired old property. So you would buy the property, you would add value to the property by refurbing that property and bringing it up to date, making it all nice and shiny and new again, and then you sell the property, making a profit. That's a traditional flip. So think of an assisted sale as a traditional flip, but instead of buying the property in need of works and carrying out a refurb followed by a sale to generate hopefully some profit, instead of this, you agree with the vendor to assist them in achieving a sale. So this works on probate properties and empty properties in need of works, and there are lots of them in the UK. And the key is finding motivated sellers who are struggling to sell and typically rundown properties set on the market. The main reason being, and estate agents will tell you this all day long, I know, I used to be an estate agent, first-time buyers struggle to obtain mortgages in the current climate and have done for some time. So first-time buyers struggle to obtain mortgages and save up deposits without having to then put, a pot of cash to refurb the property as well. They just don't have the funds to do that. Secondly, most people out there, they don't actually want a refurb project. They don't want a refurb. They want a nice home that they can just move straight into. That's what they want. People are very picky. My wife's the same. You go viewing houses, it's like, no, the kitchen's not right. Well, you can put your own in. No, the kitchen's not right. People are like that, aren't they? People just want to move straight in. The vast majority of us do anyway. The big bonus with this is you agree a price with the owner. So you've got an owner with one of these properties. You agree a price with the owner that they're happy to sell at. You agree using contracts to carry out the necessary works to improve the property. So you pay to refurb the property, but you haven't bought it. And then an agent sells the property for an improved figure. If you generate enough of an uplift in value, you walk away with a nice profit, just as you would with a traditional flip. And you can do this as a joint venture with investors, so you don't always need to have capital in these types of deals. And the other big bonus is there is no need for a mortgage or deposits. An assisted sale, you might think, oh, what if, I put the money into this refurb, and then, the owner changes their mind or decides to sell it for, a lesser price or this, that, the other. It's all covered in the contracts. You are protected. Next up, commercial to residential. So this is pretty straightforward. This is when you turn a commercial building into a residential building. So an office into a home, or split up into apartments and sold individually. People do this as there's an abundance of commercial space in the UK. And there's a lack of homes. With most developments, you would have to go through the costly and timely process of applying for planning permission. Now, anybody that's been through this will tell you it's time consuming, it's costly, it's stressful, and there's all sorts of added risks going through planning permission. Now, the government, not the current government, this was quite a few years ago now, the government, in an attempt to create more housing, created something called permitted development, or PD. Now, this allows the conversion of certain commercial buildings into residential without going through that full planning process, thus saving you time, money, and stress. So that sounds good. Now, with an abundance of commercial property and the death of the high street, many have been converted into plush city centre or town centre apartments and flats. For wannabe developers, this strategy offers an easier route than building from scratch and a quicker route to profit and money in the bank. Rent to buy. So let's talk about rent to buy. You may not have heard of this one. It's quite similar to a lease option. So this is almost identical to a lease option. The only real difference is the contracts and the terms of the agreement, and the outcome. So instead of you having an option to buy the property at the end of the agreed term, usually 5 to 10 years from now, you put in place a tenant who agrees to buy the property, so a tenant buyer. Now, this is becoming increasingly popular, and you may well have seen these properties on the likes of Rightmove that they're exclusively looking for a tenant buyer instead of a traditional buyer. Have a little look next time you're on. If you actually put in the keyword search tenant buyer, you probably pull up some properties, and that's what this is. That'll be a rent to buy. Now, the huge bonus is it's more hands-off as the tenant assumes the responsibility of most of the maintenance on the property. So the tenant treats the property with more respect and sees it as their own. The benefit to the tenant is they get to buy now and pay later on the drip, effectively. So the tenant gets to move into essentially their dream home today without worrying about a mortgage or a credit check or anything like that. The tenant agrees to pay slightly more than the market rent, and the additional money sits in a client account and effectively over time becomes the tenant's deposit for the property. So the deposit is building over the time. And this works for landlords who want hands-free, hassle-free investment with a sale pending in the future. And you know what? It bulletproofs their investment because the tenant looks after the property and is covering the rent. So there's no more phone calls in the middle of the night saying, oh, the washing machine sprung a leak, this has happened, that's happened, the fence has blown down, the winds have been up again. The landlord isn't going to get those calls anymore because the tenant has signed the agreement to say they will cover the costs of maintenance and regular maintenance, regular checks on the property, just to make sure that the property is being maintained and all the rest of it. And there's all sorts of penalties. It's all about the contracts that you use. So that's rent to buy. So let's look at the earning potential breakdown per strategy. So deal sourcing, suitability in terms of, whether a newbie could do it. Newbie and experienced people, plenty of people have a deal sourcing business and just do deal sourcing. They're not interested in anything else. They make a very, very nice income off deal sourcing. So yeah, suitability is newbie and experienced. Income type, like we said before, is per deal sold. Income per month per deal. So you can earn from £2,000 up to £10,000 per deal. It just depends how expensive the property is. Like I said, it's 2% of the purchase price. So it depends how many you do a month. If you did 2 or 3 of them a month, you're on, you could be on effectively 30 grand a month. You could be on, 6, 7, 8 grand a month. Just depends on how many. It's a numbers game. So potential per annum, anything from 24 grand to 80 grand plus, I would say, for deal sourcing. That's a conservative effort. Rent to rent, newbie and experienced is suitability again. You've got the income type is monthly income, so a little bit different. It's more of a cash flow strategy. Smaller amounts of money, but monthly, and it's regular. So that's why it appeals to lots of people, because it kind of replaces an income. So rent to rent, income per month. So you're looking at £700 roughly per each rent to rent deal. So if you had 5 rent to rents, that's going to give you £3,500 a month profit. Not bad. From 5 properties you don't even own. It's just about negotiation. If you've got the skills, if you've got the know-how, you can earn a very good income from rent to rent. Potential per annum. If you had 5 rent to rents, you're looking at 42,000 approximately. If you had 10 rent to rents, you're looking at £84,000 approximately. So just to give you an idea of where you can start with that and where it can go to as you build up, the more and more rent to rent deals you get. Assisted sales, I'd say medium experience, because they are quite complicated in terms of the contracts and negotiating them. Per deal sold, anywhere between £10,000 and £30,000 is, I'm comfortable saying that, between £10,000 and £30,000 on average, although it does depend where you are in the country and what sort of uplift you can get in the value. Potential per annum, anything from £10,000 to £60,000 plus, because if you did a couple of these a year, you're on a good salary. Lease options, medium experience again, similar to assisted sales, just because of the negotiation and the terms and everything. Income type is per deal, so and also monthly, because with a lease option you can earn money each month, obviously similar to rent. So £300 to £700 per month. £300 to £700 per month, and we're looking at potential per annum of between £3,000 and £5,000 per deal if you were selling them. Buy, refurb, refinance, say medium experience again, just because you just need that little bit more knowledge. Income type, it's per deal done again. So each deal, and the income, it's difficult to say with buy, refurb, refinance, because ultimately with buy, refurb, refinance deals, you are looking to pull all your money out of the deal. So it's not really an income per month, it's more of a growth strategy to grow your portfolio rather than an income strategy. Rent to buy, similar to lease options, again medium experience, it's per deal done. You'd be looking £1,500 to £2,000 with rent to buy, and £15,000 per annum as an average if you were sourcing these sorts of deals. Commercial to resi, commercial to residential, there experienced without doubt. There are many people who see the sums that you can make doing commercial to residential, but at the end of the day, don't jump into it. Straight off the bat, you would be silly. Experienced people only. Income type, per deal done, obviously, per development. Income per month or per deal, you're looking at it, what's more per deal. Commercial to resi, you're looking at anything from 20,000 to over £100,000 plus. Potential per annum, feasibly, how many can you get can you do in a year? So we've kind of averaged it out between 1 and 2 deals a year doing commercial to resi, so 40,000 to 200,000 plus per year. So you can ensure the odds are in your favour by having a determined, passionate and driven approach to learning and your property business. Now, these figures displayed here are a guide to show you what is possible in terms of income for each strategy. Your results are not guaranteed simply by learning the skills. You must implement them in the real world and be consistent in taking the necessary action. Being organised, motivated and accountable to yourself are must-have skills if you want to run your own business in any sector, not just property. And property is no different from that. So that's just another testimonial from one of our students who took our deal packaging and sourcing course. Deal packaging and sourcing, completed it, mate. For all you who don't think it's working or haven't completed it yet, I suggest you sit down in a quiet room with no distractions and get it done. It's opened my mind to how to make sourcing work for me, and already my company has 3 deals going through, making me £10,000, due to complete in 5 weeks. I also now have a VA, a virtual assistant that is, doing a data search for me, and I'm pushing into areas I never thought I would have 2 weeks ago. So a quick one from me, keep pushing and believe in your goals. That's one of our students. So why can't you do this too? No, why can't you get involved in property? So I've compiled a list of the most asked questions that stop people from starting in property or being a success in property. And some of these questions you may have too, and they may be floating around in your head right now. So tomorrow I'm going to share with you the answers and why you really have no barriers at all to being a success in property yourself, that includes the cost of education. I've got an amazing solution to the costs. So tomorrow's email is not to be missed. Have a great day and I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Watch your emails tomorrow.